So today's topic is self-care is more than just bubble baths. My name is Sarah Calger and my pronouns are she, her.
I'm Emma Moore. My pronouns are also she, her.
So TRU is located on the Tecumlipse-Secwepemc territory, situated in the southern interior of British Columbia, within the unceded traditional lands of the Secwepemc Nation. We are grateful to the Tecumlipse-Secwepemc people for allowing us to live and learn on their territory today. If you are from another territory, feel free to acknowledge it in the chat or on the mic. I think we're all in
pretty small crowd today, so I think we might all be same territory. So we wanted to start off today's chat with just kind of thinking about what images come to mind when you think self-care. So kind of just formulating some mental images there, and then we'll kind of give what we thought.
Just think about that for a moment.
So the first slide here that we kind of thought of is kind of your typical self-care day that I think comes to a lot of people's minds. So we've got some nail polish, some bubble bath, some candles, some lotion, some face cream, all that type of thing. I think this little gray square here is covering it, but there's also like a smoothie and another candle. So that's kind of your stereotypical self-care day, but we kind of want to talk about another type of self-care, which is this type of self-care, which might not always come to your mind right away when you think self-care, but it can encompass all of these images as well.
Mm-hmm. So brushing your teeth, making your bed, vacuuming your floor, eating a healthy meal. I actually made my bed today, so I'm quite proud of that. It makes me feel a little bit better. So self-care is sometimes marketed as a purely gratifying and luxurious experience. Those indulgences can be an important part of your self-care routine. However, there's always more to the story. So self-care is not always just a treat. It is an everyday practice, and it doesn't have to always feel indulgent. So it's the extra things that we do for ourselves to make ourselves feel better. And sometimes it is difficult to do these things, so we are going to talk about different ways to make it a little bit easier and how to start by taking smaller steps.
Yeah, so like what Sarah said, it definitely is marketed that self-care always feels good, but we personally don't feel like that's always the case. Self-care is a practice. So like any other practice, like starting to run or starting to meditate, for example, those can feel really uncomfortable when you start, and they can take a lot of drive and kind of that self-motivation to get yourself started on. But they are necessary habits. They aren't really something that we can just schlep off and still feel at our best, basically. So we're going to kind of talk about ways that we can still incorporate these necessary self-care habits, but just in a realistic and practical way.
Yes. So you cannot pour from an empty jug. So basically, when there's a lot on your plate and you are feeling depleted, it is really hard to do all the things that you need to get done every day in daily life. So we're going to talk about different ways that we can fill our jugs up and make smaller changes in our everyday lives to make things a little bit easier, so that you are not pouring from an empty jug.
Yeah, so when we were thinking about ways that we can fill up our jugs in a practical way that makes sense for most people who do not have all the time in the world or all the energy in the world, we kind of thought probably the best way to tackle these goals would be to make SMART goals. And SMART is an acronym. So it stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. And basically, when you're making a goal, you're going to want to incorporate these elements. So if you want to actually reap the benefits from your self-care goals, you kind of need to be able to achieve those goals in a realistic way. So when you're thinking about making your goal specific, kind of it's referencing kind of, you need to have a clear idea of what your goal is. It can't be lofty, it can't be grandiose or very general. You need to think like, okay, if I want to add exercise to my self-care, I can't just say I want to exercise. I want to go for a walk on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 7 p.m. That's specific, right? So the next letter is measurable. So you need to know that you've achieved your goal when you've achieved it, and you need to know when you've worked towards it, when you're working towards it. So that kind of plays off of specific as well, because if your goal is very lofty and very general, you probably won't be able to measure it. It needs to be something that you can say, yes, like I have worked towards this today, which leads us to attainable. So you only know yourself best, right? Like, you know who you are, you know what you like, you know what your life is like, how much time you have, how much energy you have, what your abilities are. So it needs to be something you know in your heart of hearts that you will do. I know don't like running on the sidewalk. That's not a fun activity for me, and I won't attain it because of that. The difference there is like, okay, I like going to the gym with my sister, so okay, that's attainable because I will enjoy that. I will say yes when she asks, compared to this, other example, right? So that's attainable. What can you attain? And I think you'll kind of know that when you think it deep down, if you're going to be able to do that or not. That kind of plays into realistic as well. Like, if you are sitting in a sedentary lifestyle, sitting all day right now, as often students, we kind of have to, is it realistic to say you're going to add 3 hours of hard exercise to your day every day? Probably not. If you've been sedentary for a while, that's going to wear you out right away and you're going to burn out, right? So that's not realistic. And then timely as well. It really helps the human brain to kind of know that you've reached that reward at a certain point, not like 10 years down the road, right? You want to know, like, maybe in a month from now, I'll see that I've gained some strength. So if your goal is timely, therefore, in a reasonable and realistic time frame, you will kind of know that you've kind of met that goal, right? So yeah, just think about what your life is like. Think about who you are. Sit down with these goals. Think about something that kind of hits these acronyms, and you will probably be off to a good start.
I think this is the most important thing to keep in mind moving forward as we talk about the different things in our lives that self-care means. Definitely for myself, like Emma said, I am quite sedentary. Everything I do is on my laptop, and I sit in my chair all day, and it's quite a bit. I used to get quite winded when I'd walk up the stairs to go to the shower that's on the top floor. I'm on the bottom floor. So I was like, okay, I need to start doing some more exercise for my lungs and for my heart. But again, if I was to do 3 hours of exercise, or if I decided on Monday morning I'm going to do 3 hours of exercise, I would never do it, and I would never want to. Or if I said I am going to wake up first thing in the morning and do exercise, do a workout at 5:30 in the morning, I would never do that because I like to sleep in. So it's picking something small. So I started doing 30 minutes of exercise every day, and all I have to do is 30 minutes of something. So it can be whatever I'm feeling that day. And it doesn't have to be a major thing. And I've actually started to stick to it because it's easy, and 30 minutes is not that long, and you could even start smaller. And now I've noticed, even when I go to the gym and I walk on the treadmill for 30 minutes, my 30 minutes goes by a lot faster now than it did 2 weeks ago. So
Exactly.
Again, timely. I know I've reached my goal because I'm not as winded when I walk up the stairs, and things are a little bit easier.
Yeah, small changes are not just small changes, right? Like, anything kind of working towards your SMART goal is a huge improvement.
Yeah. So the next thing we're going to talk about is hygiene. So hygiene for your space is a big one, and especially too because as students, I know for myself, I spend a lot of time in my bedroom. This is where I go to sleep. This is where I watch TV. This is where I read my books. This is where I do my homework. This is where I call my loved ones back home. Everything takes place in my bedroom. So basically, having a cleaner, more organized space can set the tone for your entirety of your day and your week and your month. I find that my room gets quite messy quite quickly, so we're going to talk about a few things to combat that, if that is something that you also deal with as well. So routine in general is quite helpful. Is there a SMART goal you could set for house hygiene? So an example is to put on a 10-minute playlist, video, podcast, or a timer, and just go wild and clean your space, whatever space that you're wanting to clean. So once your 10 minutes is up, then you're done and you can do whatever you want for the rest of the day. I actually started doing in between study breaks. I would work for, say, 20 to 40 minutes, and then I would take a 10-minute break and I would tidy up my space. And then I would keep doing that, and then by the end of the day, my room is entirely cleaned. And it is a nice study break to be like, I'm going to throw a load of laundry in so I can get out off of my chair and go and do something. So once you have a routine and a habit that works best for you, this will help keep your space more organized. So again, I know for myself that cleaning my bedroom is quite difficult, but I like how I feel after it is done, and I like how I feel, especially right now. My bed's made and I feel better about it, and I just feel a little bit organized in my day. And keeping your space tidy, like your desk, and we're all sitting at our desks all the time, so keeping your workspace clean helps keep you focused.
Sarah, can I share? Oh, I don't know if I can still see you there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, because I lost my little video. I can't see you anymore. I just want to say thank you for that, because I think what students have been saying to me, like in some workshops I've been doing, is that they get so distracted when they're trying to study and they notice things are out of place, or they're, so one thing I've done too, so I'm not a student, but, working from home, and I do have kids, and some students out there probably have families and kids or roommates or people who share like common spaces as well. And I was finding for me that like the kitchen, because we're home more, is like way more work to maintain because we're home for snacks and lunches. And so I was talking to my counselor about how it's really having impact on my like my brain and my focus, because I see the kitchen and I expect people in my family to clean up, and sometimes they just don't see it the way I do.
Yeah.
And so my goal since about the last probably 4 or 5 weeks is to, before I go to bed, spend those extra, like you said, 10, 15 minutes just tidying up my kitchen, and doing it for me, and not holding any resentment to anyone else in my family who might not do it, even though I asked them to do it. But it's been super helpful for me. Like last night, I was super tired. It was a very long, challenging day. But when I woke up this morning and came downstairs and the kitchen counter was clean, it actually made me feel, okay, I can start today off on a good foot. So that's been super beneficial.
Yeah. I agree. I think that's, especially to cohabitating with other people. And I know family is a little bit different than roommates. I know for myself, my parents would probably say that I do not clean up my dishes when I'm at my parents' house. But when I'm cohabitating with roommates, actually what I've noticed is if I do the dishes for my roommate, so if my roommate leaves a few things in the sink, then sometimes she'll return the favor for me, and she will also do my roommate or my dishes for me. So it's kind of that I like my space really clean, so I know if one day if I leave something that my roommate will go back to it and help me out. So it's kind of creating that quiet, you don't speak of it, but it's kind of like that unspoken rule. Like if you leave something, I will clean it up for you. And then the next time, then I know that they will do something for me too. But I do not do that at my parents' house. So do not ask my mom and dad if I do that at home. Okay.
So bodily hygiene actually, oh, sorry, I think we're just a little bit, oh, we're going forwards now, I think.
Here, I can help you go back. Sorry, I might have messed it up when I, yeah, no, there you go, you got it.
There we go, okay.
My bad.
There we go. Okay, so it sounds kind of like a no-brainer in a way, but especially when we're kind of hitting those wintertime lows, and especially with a pandemic being inside all the time, bodily hygiene can be something that is lost, right? It's I think some people, the loss of their routine has kind of resulted in kind of another loss, which is that drive or that feeling of need, I guess, to wake up each day and do your hygiene in a specific order and make sure it's done every single day, right? So like for me, if I have a lecture at 8:30, it used to be that I was showered, my hair was brushed, whatever, at 7. Now I sit in my bed sometimes, and none of that stuff is done when I'm listening to my 30 lecture, right? So it can be one of those things that as motivation is dwindling, it can be one of the first things to go, but that kind of ties into the idea that we were talking about before, that self-care isn't always easy and indulgent. Sometimes it's difficult, and sometimes it feels like work. But just remembering to do things like changing your sheets, like brushing your teeth at the same time every day, twice a day, showering regularly, washing your hair, brushing your hair, like all these things, even doing a skincare routine. Not only is that just good for your body in general, it also kind of gives your brain that sense of accomplishment, right? Like, yes, I have woken up and I have done these things today and I have accomplished this. And the human brain also just loves routine, right? If it can rely that every day you are going to get up and at 7 you do these 4 things for your hygiene, and then at 7 at night you do these 4 things, and it can rely on that, and that Sunday you will always change your sheets and have a nice clean bed to sleep in, that really can give your brain, I think, the sense of orderly routine and comfort that it previously might have gotten just automatically. Your life was different before the pandemic, right? So I think this is a very COVID-19 applicable tip, but definitely an important one. And I think, yeah, just in terms of SMART goals, like routine here is huge because it is something that needs to go regularly. And I'm just thinking, like, what can I do, right? I put here as a SMART goal specific, I could change my sheets every Sunday. Because say Sunday you don't really have anything going on, and you know the the laundry machine's going to be free on that day, right? So what add that element of help you.
Yes. So then going into sleep hygiene. So sleep hygiene is also super important. Emma and I did a wellness in your house at the beginning of the semester, all on sleep hygiene. So sleep hygiene isn't necessarily just washing your sheets and making sure you're clean before you go into bed. It can be like the routine that you have to make sure that you get a good sleep. So basically, as a general rule, those who are between 18 to 64 years should be having 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. So for some people, that is a lot less than they're having, or for some people, that might be a lot more than they're actually having. So an adequate sleep helps with mood, focus, mental clarity, energy, metabolism, and other things. So this is all interconnected with self-care. If you have a good sleep at night, then you'll be able to do an extra tidy on your room or do the dishes that you've been putting off. So it's all interconnected. So the meaning of sleep hygiene is basically creating a space and routine that is consistently beneficial to your sleep. So for example, for myself, lately I have been turning on, I have these like Christmas string lights around my window. So then I turn my string lights on. So then I turn my regular light off, and I have my happy light and I turn that off. So then the mood is a little bit dimmer. And then I make sure that I have my water beside my bed, and I've done my skincare and I've brushed my teeth. And then I crawl into bed, and even making your bed before you go into it can be quite beneficial for you as well. I know it seems redundant because you are going to crawl back into your sheets, but it can actually be quite helpful. And then turning off your electronics and your TV and your phone, and maybe reading a book and then going to sleep. So a SMART goal for this can be, I put my devices away at 9 and I read a chapter of my book, and then I do my bedtime hygiene routine. So there has been some information that blue light on like your phone can keep you awake. My counselor actually told me that basically looking at your phone right before bed is like drinking an espresso right before you go to sleep. And most of us would not do that. So we need to do the same with our phones. And I know this one is quite difficult, especially for myself. And I will talk a little bit about why, or what I've started doing later on to kind of fix that. So then another one too is our bladder chatter that will be on social media. We'll have more information about sleep hygiene. And then Emma and I are also going to be doing a wellness in your house on April 7th for more information about sleep hygiene. So that will be recorded for everyone as well. So now we are going to talk more about care for your body.
Yeah, so self-care, right? It kind of encompasses everything that can happen and can happen to you in your life. So basically, the first kind of major bullet point we wanted to touch on was nutrition. So I think most people can attest that what you put in your body does usually make a difference on how you feel generally, right? Whether you're hitting those high and low blood sugar spikes, and are you eating enough? Are you eating whatever? So we just kind of wanted to generally say that the Canada Food Guide right now focuses mainly on vegetables and fruits as the largest quadrant of your plate here. You can see in the diagram, followed by whole wheats and grains because those are slow burning carbs that fuel you with energy for your whole day, healthy fats, and then lean proteins. So the Canada Food Guide actually has a great website where it kind of gives you examples of how you can make a balanced plate on their website. This link here that we've included. So go ahead and give that a look if you're interested. But yeah, just giving your body what it needs can improve your health in all areas. Just like we talked about with the interconnectedness before, everything is connected, right? When it comes to caring for yourself. So if you're able to improve one area, the other areas will probably improve as well. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're interested in kind of making a SMART goal for your nutrition.
Mm-hmm. And creating a meal plan for your week can be quite helpful in deciding what you're going to eat. And I've noticed for myself as we've been in a little bit more of isolation, I don't see a lot of people, I don't leave the house a lot. It has been really fun to try new recipes and make new meals for myself. And then after you've created this really healthy, filled with lots of vegetables meal, I do feel quite better about myself, and I feel like I've accomplished something, even if I haven't left the house that day. And then your tummy's all happy and full, especially when it's a good soup and it's cold out.
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of plays into this next point that we were making, that don't just think of food as nutrition, though, right? Like, it is the most important thing, but we have to remember that we are social animals as humans, and making and enjoying treats with others, or even just maybe by yourself because it's a pandemic and that's the best. Right? That is also a great way you can show yourself self-care. I often love to bake up a batch of cookies with my partner on a Saturday, and then after we have like 2 or 3 cookies and watch a movie, that's a great way that I found to add self-care with my eating habits, right? Just something simple, having something, or a delicious meal as well that maybe doesn't exactly look like a Canada food Guide balanced plate, but is delicious, right? Big bowl of pasta or something, making and eating that. But just remember, when you're taking this into account, that just remember moderation, mindfully enjoy the moment when you're in these kind of more indulgent moments. Enjoy them fully, but then just kind of come back to the focus, like, yes, food is fuel for our bodies, and in order to feel best, we kind of need to give our bodies the tools it needs to do that for us. So
And food can be so fun too.
mm-hmm.
Good point. Can you ladies hear me? I can't see myself, so I can't unmute or mute. Okay. One cool thing that I was talking to students with in the spring when the pandemic started too was, if you, like you said, mentioned about being social, Emma, totally. And one thing I was talking about is, like, wouldn't it be cool to, like, if like your mom or grandma or aunt or whoever, or dad or brother, whoever has an amazing recipe, like, make it with them on like Zoom together, and then enjoy the meal together, like, even though you're not in the same house. But find those people who have recipes that you've kind of always coveted and get them to teach you how to make it, and then share it together over Zoom, which is kind of like a fun way to incorporate that nutrition and that, like the enjoyment of a meal with that social piece.
Oh, that would be awesome. That sounds fantastic, actually. I can't believe my family hasn't done that yet. We love food so much.
Yes. Okay, so hydration. A simple way to show your body and mind is by showing your mind and body care is by ensuring fluids are being kept up. So as a general rule, you should aim for 2 ounces for every kilogram of body weight. I think this, yeah, I think that's right. Okay, sorry. So basically, water is best because things like coffee and whatnot can have caffeine in it. and then it actually depletes your body of water. So try and squeeze a lemon in it or some mint or cucumbers, and then it makes your water feel a little bit more like a spa feeling. So for myself, for example, I have my water bottle here. Actually, I started having a big water bottle, and then my goal is to drink 2 of these a day. And so that's been really helpful that I can measure it on the side, how much I'm supposed to drink. Okay, actually, no, I think this is supposed to be 1 ounce for every kilogram of body weight. Yes, so it's not 2. Okay, so it's 1 ounce for every kilogram of body weight. And that's just like a general rule. It might change depending on if you have different dietary needs. So it's different for everyone, but that is a general rule. So I'm going to start my day with a large glass of lemon water. And for myself personally, I will have my water beside my bed. So it's the first thing that I reach for in the morning. And then I will rehydrate myself after sleeping all night. And then it makes you feel better. Your skin is clear. And yeah, so drinking water is really important. And it's really important for our brains too, to make sure that we have a lot of water.
And another one that kind of plays into that idea we talked about before of self-care isn't always fun, right? Like that's pretty boring, right? Drinking water, but it can make a huge difference in even certain things, right? Like I think if you're hydrated, you have a lower risk of kidney stones and that type of thing. So yeah, but if you do want to kind of make it more fun, I kind of thought tea and coffee, that can be a great, like don't overdo it, of course, with what Sarah mentioned with the caffeine, but making it a warm cup of tea or a warm cup of coffee and kind of having a routine with that can be such a fun and kind of comforting ritual to have every day, something your brain can rely on. And also, of course, is bringing that fluid intake in. Yeah, just like something that can make kind of the mundane self-care of every day feel a little bit more indulgent. More, exciting and whatnot. It's a little tip there.
Yeah, I've been loving actually a mint tea bag and then like fruity like passion tea I think I have, or I think it's actually peach tea, which is really good, and then some honey and then a little bit of lemonade, and it is so good, and it feels like such a treat, and it's warm and comforting, but again, it's hydrating me as well, and low caffeine.
Yeah, it sounds really good. I need to try that.
Okay, so the next one is exercise. So movement comes in different shapes and styles, and it's basically based on your ability, your access to different resources, and your preferences. So basically, in general, adding any movement to your daily routine can provide benefits. So you can walk or hike or bike ride or do an online exercise video. There are so many free videos on YouTube now. Chair yoga, swim at the TCC, which is free to students, Tai Chi, weightlifting, basically anything that you want to do. So a SMART goal could be, I could walk with my mom every evening after dinner, or you could pick a roommate, or there's lots of different things that you can do.
Yeah, so with the SMART goals are endless as well. Like it really is just whatever you think you can attain and sounds good to you. But yeah, definitely just honing in, like, what will I do? What do I want to do? With my schedule. So here we've got like, okay, I'm going to walk, and it's going to be with my mom, who I live with, and it's going to be every evening after dinner, right? So kind of hits those kind of bullet points right there. And of course, maybe this one isn't so timely, but if you do it for 3 weeks, you kind of know that you've been achieving your goal for 3 weeks. So that's great.
Yeah. And again, it's making it something that we've talked about this before, that's realistic for you. So for myself, I was having a harder time. I have weights at my house, and I was having a harder time lifting my weights. And so then finally I was like, okay, I should go get a gym pass. And then I started going to the gym. And so now part of that is going on the off hours when it's quieter. So then I'm able to get myself up to go either early in the morning or right before bed, so that I'm missing that gym rush of people. But I knew that if I wasn't doing anything in my room, we're how many months into this pandemic, and I was not doing anything with any of the resources I had here. So it's kind of shifting what you want to do, and then not beating yourself up if you do not meet those goals. So for example, I only told myself that I had to do 30 minutes, and I can fit it in anywhere in my day. If I don't make it to the gym, I could do something in my room. Or last week for Bell Let's Talk, we did yoga. So then that was my exercise for the day. Or I could stretch, or I could go for a walk outside. Like, it's making your plan flexible and realistic to you.
Absolutely. It's the most important part.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just to reiterate, choosing the activity that sounds best to you, I think, is the most important point here, right? Like, exercise is a push. It doesn't matter who you are, it is a push. So, and some people like that push, they get kind of an endorphin rush from that, but a lot of people don't, right? So I think emphasizing that it has to be something that you are interested in, or if you really don't like exercise, at least something that you think you can most tolerate, right? So that is really the point to drive home. Like, choose something that you like and just fit it in if you can, right? Like 10 minutes here and there, 30 minutes. If you really are enjoying yourself, like do an hour, right? But finding a place to fit it in, this will help your life, like we said before, in interconnected ways, right? It can help your sleep, it can lower your stress, it can even ward off certain diseases. It also gives your brain a break as a student. And a great way that I've found to add exercise into my life is to have a buddy to do it with, because you get some social time. Yeah, so it is a basic need to socialize, and so yeah, just finding ways that you can make that work.
Yeah, exactly. So, care for your mind, quick tips. So a lot of the stuff that we've already mentioned is a broad overview of different areas, and these are some smaller tips as well. So again, taking breaks. So only taking on what you can handle. It's really important, especially right now, to make sure that there's only enough on your plate that you can handle. And sometimes life throws us curveballs, and there's a little bit extra on our plates that might be a little bit difficult. So it's to not take on anything else in those moments as well. Staying connected with your loved ones. This is especially important right now. This is a self-care, is to check in with your people. I know every day, mostly every day, I contact my mom, and my mom and I are either texting or I call her. So it's staying connected with my family back home. Unplugging from social media, especially right now. There's always something going on every day in the media. And so it's kind of taking a step back and refocusing on what is going on in your own life and not becoming too overwhelmed with the news and the media. There's a lot of information that we do need to pay attention to, like new restrictions, etc. But especially right now, it's becoming a little bit too overwhelming. So I know for myself, it's like taking a break, putting those daily limits if you have an iPhone on your cell phone, so that you're only allowed to go on certain apps for certain amounts of time. There's lots of ways that you can do that. There was also a wellness in your house about unplugging from social media. That was really great as well. Doing something that you enjoy. So this could be anything. It could the options are endless. So it could be making cookies, like Emma said. It could be watching a TV show that you've been putting off. It could be doing a puzzle. It could be painting. It could be literally anything that you want to do that makes you feel good, that you enjoy. Another one is watching a show without scrolling on your phone. Again, it can become very easy to become overstimulated by watching a show, and then you're also talking with other people and then scrolling through social media and news sites. And then it becomes all very overwhelming. So actually, for myself, I've noticed that when I watch movies or shows with my partner, I'm not on my phone because I'm enjoying that moment with her. And I actually get a lot more out of the TV show or whatever it is we're watching, the movie or whatever, than I would if I was by myself scrolling on my phone. So it's kind of easy just to refocus and center on that one thing. And making use of the resources that we do have available. So Tier U counseling is really great. All of the counselors in there are awesome, and there is a counselor for everybody to meet everyone's needs. And you can choose between different counselors. And if one counselor doesn't work for you, you can switch to someone else. Or if you feel like you're in a different walk of life and you don't want to go to the same counselor anymore, you can switch. It's super flexible, and they're all really awesome. I'm pretty sure, I think I know all of them now, just from working with them through different things. And I would recommend any one of our counselors that we have. And then Here to Talk is a new resource for students. Basically, it's a Here to Talk line, and you can contact it 24/7 and kind of share whatever it is that you're feeling. And I think it connects you with a counselor. So that's kind of an immediate person, because sometimes it takes I think maybe 2 weeks to get into Tier U counseling. So Here to Talk is immediate. Again, the Wellness Center, so coming to events that we're hosting is really great. And then also there's an 811. Students can call a dietitian from Monday to Friday from 9 to 5 with their BC Services card. So that is a great resource as well. If you feel like you're not getting anything in particular in your diet, you can contact the dietitian and maybe review that as well. So that's a great resource as well.
That's a fantastic resource, actually, because I do think that there is some lacking education with what actually constitutes a balanced and healthy overall diet, right? So I think that that's a great, just connect right to the source and find out.
Yeah, especially everything with diet culture and whatnot. It's very easy to look up what you're supposed to be eating on Instagram or Pinterest, and those are usually things that are made by people who do not have proper schooling. So it's, like Emma said, going right to the source of where the proper information is from.
Yeah. So just quickly, we're kind of coming to the end here. I think we're running out of time a little bit, but we just wanted to kind of go over, we've kind of sprinkled in what we've done to implement our self-care throughout this entire presentation. But the biggest takeaway for me is that sometimes if I see these big talks or big posts about what self-care is and how to implement it, I kind of feel like, oh my goodness, I'm a failure. I don't do any self-care. You know, how am I going to change my entire life? Well, you don't have to, right? Like we said, all self-care is interconnected. So improving even one area is going to reap benefits across your whole life and across other areas as well. So kind of for me, one thing I sat down with myself during this pandemic and really wanted to change, I was like, okay, I do not take care of my skin at all, and it could be a lot healthier, right? So I said, okay, now is the time for me to set some SMART goals. When am I going to take care of my skin? So I set one. It went great, right? Like that was the only thing I was focusing on. Not now I have healthier skin. Same with drinking more water. I sat down, I said, I'm only going to focus on this right now. What is the most important thing? I'm not drinking enough water. Now I drink enough water, right? Same with adding more vegetables and finding the right fitness. The fitness one is the newest one for me. Yeah, I think just if you are that type of person who's easily overwhelmed, or you just kind of are hard on yourself, maybe don't think that this is a space where we're telling you to change your entire life, right? Like, if that's not what it's about. And that's kind of what a SMART goal is it's attainable and it is realistic to your life. So changing your whole life is probably not realistic to anyone. So yeah, one goal at a time is fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really good, especially after this presentation. It can be quite overwhelming to think that if you're not doing something in certain areas, do not feel discouraged or overwhelmed. Again, like Emma said, it's taking on one thing at a time and going from there. So for myself personally, I started with 4 goals. So this is something that I started to do with my partner, actually, and we are long distance right now. So we made kind of like a daily challenge, a 30-day challenge that we made. So every day we have to drink however much water you want to drink. So we get to pick our own goals. You have to do 30 minutes of DPA, reading a book for fun. And the 4th one is, oh shoot, I'm going to forget it. Taking your vitamins. So these are the 4 goals that we decided that we have to do every single day. And then at the end of the day, you get 4 points. And then whoever has the most points at the end of their 30 days wins a prize. So then basically we're holding each other accountable to these goals. And then it also gets a little bit competitive because we both want to win and decide what our prize is at the end. So for me, I found it to be really helpful because I have her to encourage me in it. And we've both picked these goals together of things that we're going to focus on, and we've been sticking to it, and we're halfway through. And I feel better about the changes that I've made. And then another thing that I started to do, well, I guess as well, so for my DPA, I've been going to the gym for 30 minutes a day. And for my partner, it was a little bit more difficult for her to find 30 minutes to do something right, like all at once. So she's going to start doing 15 minutes in the morning and then 15 minutes in the evening. So it's really cutting that time up. And I personally, I like to think of it as DPA, so daily physical activity, as opposed to exercising for things like weight loss, for body image, for how you look. So it's daily physical activity, and it's shifting that mindset, especially for myself, that I am moving my body and I'm being intentional about my movement, so that my heart and my mind and my lungs are all happier. And I know for myself, every time I go to the gym, I'll text my mom and say what I've done, and she'll be like, your heart and your lungs will thank you. And I think that's really important to think about, is that we're doing this for our insides, and it does make us feel better. And then again, another goal that I have that I've been implementing outside of my challenge with my partner is a 10-second tidy. So I don't know if you guys have watched Big Comfy Couch, but it was this television show. It was on when I was a kid, and they would do this 10-second tidy. So it was tidying the space up for 10 seconds. So again, it doesn't have to be only 10 seconds, but actually you'd be surprised about how much you could get done in 10 seconds, if even just looking at my desk area, what I could clean up. So again, it's doing that quick, like, tidy of your space before you sleep, before you do homework, before you sit down to watch a TV show. And I do this multiple times a day, and my room always ends up messy, so do not worry about it, that it happens. I don't know how it happens, but it does. But again, it's just kind of slowly picking up your things as you go along, or before you sit down to do something. And then another one that I shared earlier, before I go to bed, I try to read 10 pages of a book. And this is something that I haven't done throughout my whole undergrad, is reading for fun. So now before I go to bed, I unplug from my phone and I just read these 10 pages of my book before I fall asleep. And it's been really helpful to kind of unwind before I go to bed.
Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of thank everybody for listening, but remind everyone that self-care means something different for everyone. So these have just been some tips, basically some ideas, but you know yourself best. So yeah, take that kind of with a grain of salt. Apply this to your life in a way that you think makes sense. And at times, a hot bubble bath is self-care, right? And that is a great way, and indulging yourself is important on occasion, right? But it is also important to remember that self-care is an everyday thing. And it's important to make goals that are attainable for you and really focus just wholeheartedly on taking care of your mental and bodily health and taking it one step at a time.
Exactly. Okay, so basically to end this off, please follow the Wellness Center on Instagram and Facebook. So on both of them, we're just TRU Wellness Center. And then you can stay up to date on all the events coming up or the different things that we're offering. And then again, you can email us at wellness@tru.ca. So again, thank you so much for listening. And remember, it's just taking one little step at a time.
Absolutely.
I think that's it.
Do you want to just exit, Sarah? Oh, here we go.
There you go.
There we go. We can stop presenting. There we go.
Yay.
I'm on mute. I just want to say thank you both so much. It's the second time today. You did a really great job of, I think, really covering some of the basics that people sometimes don't think about. And I like how you, at the beginning, showed, because when you asked to think about what self-care is, like I did picture that, like on a beach, relaxing, that bigger, But it is the things that we do every day to maintain our self-care that are super important. So I just want to say thank you to both of you. And just to let anyone know who's watching too, I'm Chelsea. I coordinate the Wellness Center. And if you have any specific questions, you can email me. My email is just ccorsi, so ccorsi @tru.ca. And we are launching a live chat next week, February 8th, 2021, off our website, which Sarah and Emma shared at the end there. So you can chat with a peer Monday to Friday, some days till 6, some days we're a bit shorter, but we'll have something posted on our website if you have some questions about any of this stuff. So thanks to the two of you. Good job.